As the EU and other regions and countries of the world strengthen their requirements for companies to prevent and mitigate human rights violations and negative impacts on the environment along the supply chains, it becomes more and more important for businesses to have a good understanding of the recently introduced rules and regulations. One major piece of such EU legislation is the so-called CSRD. In a short video, we will explain what a CSRD is and what it means for businesses. At the end of the video, we'll give you some extra info on how the CSRD differs from the other recently introduced legislation, the CSDDD, which is very much into the news. Hi, I'm Björn from Climate Education, where we produce videos where we inform you about climate change, sustainability, and empower you how to stop the climate crisis. We'll now explain the main points of the CSRD, what this means for companies from the EU, companies operating within the EU, and businesses along the supply chain. First of all, what is the CSRD? The four letters stand for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and it is a piece of legislation by the EU, which came into effect on January 5th, 2023. Its aim is to provide transparency to better evaluate EU companies' sustainability performance and related business impacts and risks for better informed decisions by consumers and investors. As the name says, R stands for reporting. So it's very much about asking companies to report on their sustainability and impacts on human rights. It also aims to help the EU to become climate neutral by 2050. And the directive applies both to EU and non-EU companies, depending on size. So we go into this later. There's staff count, assets, and net turnover. Very important. Corporations need to get ready. They need to understand the new regulation and follow any changes. With the CSDDD, for example, there might be some unexpected changes, and it's always good to follow the news and know what the recent developments are. ESG data is key. And of course, needless to say, companies need to comply with the new legislation to avoid any risk to their businesses. So what is it exactly that companies need to do? As it's a reporting directive, they need to report. That means they need to disclose information and how the company's business activities affect the environment and human rights. Going a bit into detail, that includes reporting on carbon emissions, effects on the workforce, and human rights in general. Companies also need to report on how the company's sustainability goals and measures and risks impact the financial health of its business. So it's not only the impacts that the company might have on the environment or humans, but also how their sustainability goals impact their financial health. And also report on cash flows, risk, and access to funding. The next W question, who? So who does this actually apply to? Very important question, obviously. This applies both to European and non-European companies. European companies that meet two of these three criteria. First criteria would be at least 25 million euros in total assets. Second would be at least 50 million euros in a net turnover, and three, at least 250 employees. Non-European companies with an annual revenue in the EU of at least 150 million euros. So you see there's no staff count, but that is for the non-EU companies. When will the CSRD start? Obviously, so it has started already. It's phased in four different categories and of companies depending on the size. So compliance starts in 2024. Reporting is in the next year, in 2025, for companies that are already required to comply with the CSRD's predecessor, the NRFD. Large companies that are not yet mandated by the NFRD would be then up to in the next year, 2025. And it includes actually small and medium-sized companies. They have a bit more time. It starts in 2026. If they meet at least two of the three criteria, total assets of 4 million euros, a net turnover of 8 million euros, and 50 employees. And last but not least, non-European companies in 2028. So what are the penalties? Well, as with most of the EU legislation, the CSRD also will transpose international law. So that means the penalties will actually come, obviously, from the national government, and that might be paid by country, by state. There are three possible penalties. First, a public denunciation. So, of course, it's damaging to the reputation of the company. Because investors and consumers will become aware and they know, and they might change their decision to invest or to purchase any products from that company in order to change conduct. And last but not least, financial punishment. So just to give a couple of examples, the German version of the current NFRD states, for example, that companies face fines of up to 10 million euros or 5% of their annual revenue. France really has set the tone here. First member state to implement the law on December 6th, 2023. And it includes, for example, up to 75,000 euros with the additional threat to 5 years of imprisonment for responsible persons at the companies if there are violations being discovered. Very important question again, like how to get ready, right? Well, we kind of had this in the beginning. Companies need to start preparing to implement the new rules as soon as possible. Obviously, if you're a big company and it's already in 2024, then you already are implementing, hopefully. The companies need to understand the new regulation and follow any changes. As said, like it's actually not so unlikely that here and there might be changes in different legislation from the EU, like that includes the CSRD we're talking about. ESG data is super important. Companies need to obviously comply to avoid any risk. And not last but not least, get advice from a professional consultant agency. Right, it's good to inform yourself, but professionals were definitely a huge help for companies to get ready. Last piece of our video. So what's the difference between the CSRD and the CSDDD? Always have to remember how many Ds there are. There are 3 of them. That's why CSDDD might be actually easier to remember. So yeah, with all these letters, very, very easy to confuse. And as said, there were even more that we've actually gone over briefly in this video. So the difference between the CSRD, which stands for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and the CSDDD, which is the Reporting Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, is, as the words that are highlighted, a CSRD is a reporting directive, so it's about reporting, and the CSDDD is a due diligence directive, so it's more about implementing actually concrete measures. So they have similar goals. The CSDDD requires companies to take responsibility, prevent and mitigate social and environmental issues along their supply chain. So it's really about preventing, mitigating, and taking action, while the CSRD aims to ensure that companies are transparent about it and report. So again, it's a reporting directive so that investors and consumers know what to do. Both the CSRD and CSDDD are 2 pieces of the same puzzle. So companies obviously need to do both, and to be truly sustainable, and that their investors and consumers know how sustainable the company is. Okay. That was very quick and under 10 minutes talking about the CSRD. So thanks very much for watching. If you found this video useful, please consider giving it a thumbs up or subscribing to our channel. It really helps to increase the visibility for this channel and get more people on board to do something for sustainability and fight the climate crisis. Big thanks in advance, and see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye for now.